Explain why you're here and asking questions. Can someone do that?
At our school we do like something called exhibition, and we think of a topic that we're really passionate about, and then we want to and then we take action on it.
Very
and,
cool.
Get to know a lot about it, and so we chose like killer whales in captivity, and we knew you guys had used to have Keiko or Keiko, and then we kind of like did some research, and we're also interested in like the otters and sea lions and seals.
Okay.
So we're just gonna ask some questions about like sea lions and otters and seals. And
Awesome.
are you guys willing to talk about Keiko?
I don't know a lot about Keiko. He was well before my time. The only staff person who's still here from his time is upstairs in the meeting right now. So I can do my best to answer your questions if you have some about them.
Well, Liz
Good job.
So do you guys have sea otters?
We do. Yep, so the sea otters are in the exhibit right around the corner. And we have 3 boys.
That was the first one we did.
Yeah, Lizzie, pay attention.
And
Well, I
they,
think she's kind of thinking maybe let's pretend like we don't know anything.
River otters.
were you going to ask about river otters?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, no, we don't have any river otters, but there are river otters along the Oregon coast. And a lot of times people get them confused for sea otters. We get phone calls all the time that there's sea otters out in the ocean. And they're actually river otters because they will go into the ocean to eat. We haven't had sea otters along our coast since the early 1900s. So these 3 boys over here are the only 3 sea otters you see along the Oregon coast.
You guys give your animals veterinary care.
We do.
Does
So,
that like affect them in any way?
no, so did you watch my presentation when I was talking about it? So we train our animals, it's one of the first things that they're trained for when they come to us when they're very young, is to make sure that we can work closely with them. And then we also get them comfortable with another person, such as our veterinarian, being able to touch them, listen to their hearts, like you guys would have at your doctor's, or draw their blood, like a nurse would do.
But in the wild, they're not like used to doing all these veterinary cares. So is there like any like negative or positive effect on them?
Well, so our job is to make sure they're as comfortable as possible. So starting out, they're probably going to be a little bit scared that there's another person there that they don't know. So we need to make sure that we pair that up with the food. That food is what rewards them. And also having to get really excited rewards the animals too. You know, like someone who takes care of them all the time. So as far as the veterinarian, they might be frightened of him at first, but the vet care, the shots, the checking of the eyes, all of those things, even though they're not done out in the wild, it's of no problem for them. They can do it no problem.
So why do you know why Keiko is called the lucky one?
I don't actually. Probably because he came from a place in Mexico that really wasn't the best place for him to be, and then he came to the United States to live, where he had a lot of good care. And he was also by himself. It's rare for an orca to be by themselves in an aquarium, right? Yeah, so he was very attached to his trainers. They built a very good relationship with him.
So he was really fun.
He was, to the people that worked with him, yeah.
Danny, do you have any questions? Yeah. So when you had Keiko, if anyone got into the pool, did anyone get hurt or injured by it?
No. So our trainers would scuba dive with him to clean his tank, and they would also swim with him as a way to do something different and give him exercise, and they never had a problem with him. He was very gentle. And that was probably his personality too. Each animal has a personality, just like each person has one.
So you can also get in with these current animals.
We do, everyone but the big guy. So Max goes behind the scenes when we go in, and it's just because he's never been in the pool with scuba divers. 500 pounds, I don't think I'm going to outswim him if he were to get upset. So we just take him off exhibit when we scuba dive, and we swim with the girls and all of the seals. And it's all about safety too, so we need to be very safe in our job. We need to know if an animal's having a bad day, just like people, or maybe your dog at home. Your dog might be grumpy or not having a good day or hurt, and that might cause them to be a little upset. And the same thing goes for our animals. We need to be able to read their body language. If they're having a bad day, that means we're probably not going to push them. We might just go in and just feed them and talk very calmly to them. We wouldn't get in the water with them. We wouldn't ask them to do any vet stuff because that's like fun, right?
Tell when they're like happy or sad.
Not really happy or sad, but if they're having a bad day or a good day, we can't really say that they have emotions because they can't tell us that they're happy. But they do play with toys and they interact with us outside of session. We don't need to have food there. If they could have pups, they would. And those are all signs that they're content. That's probably a better word than happy. Content under human care. They're healthy under human care.
What do you think, like, do you think in SeaWorld, what do you think they go with, like, what do you think it would be?
If he went to SeaWorld, he probably would be just fine. There would be people there who specialize in killer whales that would know how to take care of him. So he would have a home with other orcas as well.
And do you think other aquariums would care the same as you do to your animals?
We hope so. In the aquarium and zoo field, it's a very small field. We know a lot of people all around the world who do the same things that we do, and they're all very passionate about it. They love their job, they love the animals they work with, so we hope that they would do the same thing for any animal we would have here at our aquarium.
So do you think, what would be like some of the differences between the bigger type of like SeaWorld kind of thing and like the smaller ones like here?
Well, here we don't really do shows.
Yeah.
So SeaWorld does a lot of shows, and that's just what they do. They gear more towards entertainment. They like the entertainment aspect. But that's how you get people excited and passionate about the animals that they care for in the ocean. Don't you guys get excited when you see big shows? Yeah, because it's interesting, right? And it allows people to have passion for that. But here we do a lot of things that are more educational. And we also might do more research. Being a smaller facility, we don't have the ability to have big lights going off behind us or 10 trainers out on the deck. We have a very small staff, and our animals are older too, so we have to fit our presentations to that.
Do you think that you'll know the animal better if you have like a smaller group of people than like a big?
Maybe. So we have what's called primary trainers. And what that means is I train certain animals and I'm the only person who trains them. But just because I'm training them something new doesn't mean that the other two trainers on staff can't feed them and ask them for behaviors. They just can't teach that animal anything new because it can get confusing. Too many people are teaching stuff at the same time. So they can work with them as well. So everybody has a relationship with the animals. But sometimes we get a little closer to the animals we work with all the time.
How do you get your animals? Are you more rescue versus
All of our harbor
versus
seals.
entertainment,
Yeah.
SeaWorld?
So all of our seals came from the ocean. They were abandoned by mom or injured, so they needed a place to live. Our sea otters were all abandoned by mom or injured as well. And sea otters are tricky because they need mom in their first year of life. And if they don't have mom, they're not going to survive.
Sea otters?
Sea otters, yeah. So because they didn't have moms in their first year, they needed to come to a zoo or an aquarium. So that's why we have them. The same with our harbor seals. They needed to be placed here because they couldn't take care of themselves out in the ocean. And our sea lions just happened to come from the Chicago Zoo in Illinois, just because they wanted sea lions when this place first opened and there weren't any that needed rescued at the time. But they were born at a zoo. They weren't from the wild.
So has there been any animals you like
No, there's never been a recorded case of a marine mammal that's been in an aquarium. So not rehab centers. Rehab centers are great because they'll go in and feed the animals and give them medicine, but they won't interact with the animals. So they don't know that people are good. They try to avoid that so they don't get used to people and want to keep coming up to people when they're released. But these guys, because they're trained, we hand feed them, we give them toys, our veterinarian works with them. If we were to let them go out in the wild, chances are they would end up in somebody's front yard and they would be a nuisance animal and they'd have to come back and live at a zoo or an aquarium.
And would you ever consider putting some of your animals in a sea pen to get them more used to the wild?
In a sea pen, probably not. These guys have been only here their entire lives, especially our sea lions. So if we were to put them in a sea pen, there's a lot of things out there that are actually unsafe for them. They could get a disease or bacteria. And sea pens, it's no different than being in an aquarium, except it's just a pen out in the ocean. It doesn't move. The only thing different is maybe a few fish or animals might swim around that are a little different. Yeah.
So would Keiko be the only animal that you have like rehabilitated and been able to get back to the wild?
Yep, he went back in the wild, and he wasn't even really part of the Oregon Coast Aquarium. He was a separate foundation. But we were just his place where he lived in the museum. Yeah.
I'm sure you've changed what was his area. What now is where he was?
Pod. So passages of the deep, the walk-through tunnels.
Okay.
They weren't separated into 3, and there was no tunnel. It was just one
a
big pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Did the pool that Keiko was in before, what is in it now, or?
It's where the sharks are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that big tunnel that you guys walked through.
We haven't gone around.
Okay,
yeah.
well, you will be walking through it. The tunnel wasn't there. It was just windows on the outside, and there weren't any fish in it. It was just me.
So in that aspect, you were kind of more, like you were saying a minute ago, you were kind of more the rehab place for him.
Yeah, we were a holding
Does that
facility.
make sense? No, you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, he,
Girls and guys.
guy.
Exactly. We were his rehab place. We were the place in between being at an aquarium and doing shows before going out into the wild. So we were that middleman.
I still remember. Were you living in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I visited Kiko in his last days
That
before
was such
he.
a spectacle.
Yeah,
I mean, guys,
It's
they
beautiful.
had them on trucks driving through towns, and they had to. In some places, the truck was so big they had to take down traffic lights and things to help get him here. I mean, it was. I still remember like it was
Yeah.
yesterday. I mean, it was.
there was a FedEx helped them
The
to
big-
move, right?
Yeah.
With a big plane.
FedEx still does most of the marine mammal moves in the country.
Yeah.
They donate a lot of time to do that, which is great because a small place like this can't really afford $10,000 to rent a plane to fly them. So a lot of times FedEx donates planes or trucks and helps facilities move animals around in the country if they're finding new homes.
Do you have any type of priority system for like, let's say you've got your animals now, but all of a sudden, some ones that are Oregon or native, I guess I would say, on our beaches, compared to we need a new one, let's contact, a zoo or something. I mean, how do you?
Right now, we are not in a rush to get new animals. We like to keep available space in our exhibits for animals that strand. So if there were some sea lions, they normally will strand down in California because there's such a large number of them. If there were some animals to strand in California, and we're on a list for stranded animals. So there's zoos and aquariums all over the world, mostly in the United States, and you're assigned a number. And that number depends on when was the last time you took in new animals, how old your current population is. So if we had a bunch of 30-year-old sea lions in here, we'd probably be at the top of the list. But because our animals, they are older, but they're not ancient, we're not at the top of the list. Also, how much space we have and how many more animals we can take on. That would determine what rehab animals we get. But we are on a list, so if there was a mass stranding of any sort, we have space to take on new sea lions. Harbor seals, I think we're at where we're going to stay for a while, but we would also take on stranded harbor seals too.
How do your like sea otters and sea lions and stuff? compared to sea lions in the wild, as in like, they're like behaviors, like how they act.
How they act? Well, these guys are used to people, so it's a little hard to compare it. These guys are going to be a little bit more friendly towards us because they're trained that way. They know they get their food from people. Sea lions in the wild might be a little more standoffish. They might not want to come near people, which is good. That's much safer for them and the people because they don't get food from it. They don't understand that people are probably trying to do good things, so they're going to be a little bit more scared. And we want that. We want animals in the wild. We don't want to come up to people and interact with them. Oh, we don't want to mess around with them. Because that could be dangerous for both the animal and the pet.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any more questions? Those are excellent questions.
How long have you been doing here, or then in general your career?
Here for 3 years, in this entire field for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And how I got into it is I started volunteering when I was 16 years old at an aquarium back east in Niagara Falls, New York. And they take volunteers at 16 years old. So not only did I get to prepare the food and clean the mammal exhibits, I also helped with the fish and the penguins. You gotta learn everything, right? You gotta know how the entire aquarium works. And then from there I got scuba certified. You have to spend a lot of time in the water if this is what you want to do. I went to school for biology. I have a bachelor's, so it's a 4-year degree in biology. And after I graduated, I moved up at the aquarium that I was at till I was senior trainer there, and then I took a job out here to continue as a senior trainer out here. And the reason I came out here is I really like the Pacific Northwest, and I really wanted experience with sea otters, and we didn't have those at the aquarium I was at.
Huh? Not that.
Any other questions?
Any pictures?
Very good. Lots to write about.
Awesome. So if you guys think of any more, I know someone did contact Erin at some point. Was she been in contact with someone? Okay. So if you have any other questions, send them to her. If you have her email, and she can pass it down to me. Okay? Excellent job, guys.
And my mom also teaches high school biology.
Oh, perfect. So if you have questions, you can ask her, right? Excellent.
Oh, he's just.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Don't forget
Thank
to
you.
check out the